stay with the story and let's focus on what's been happening with the buses because, of course, as we know, Golden Arrow bus services has been helping get people to and from work during this taxi stay away. Over the weekend, a number of their buses have been torched, 4 more torched this morning. This is despite them having received an interdict from Santaco over the weekend. I understand they've been in court this afternoon or are in court trying to get another interdict. Let's bring in now the spokesperson for the Golden Arrow bus services, Bronwen Dyke-Beyer. Thank you so much for your time. I think you probably heard a little bit of what my colleague Sipha Mandla had to say. Extremely worrying indeed. I wonder if you could start by just updating us on your attempt to get a second interdict. What's the latest there?
So, as you correctly stated, we did receive a court order yesterday which interdicted Santaco and the participating taxi associations from interfering with our services, our passengers, our employees, or vandalizing our property. We were very hopeful after that, this morning would be different circumstances. Unfortunately, in the early hours of this morning, following a taxi blockade on the N2 on the airport approach road, 2 of our buses were set alight. Obviously, the fact that this happened while there was a taxi blockade was extremely concerning to us. And so we have indeed returned to court this evening. We are asking, and that's happening right now, we are asking that Santaco please prove to us that they did indeed publicize a statement, which they were ordered to do, which stated that all of their associates should immediately stop any kind of interference and to protest peacefully. We are also asking them to prove that they have taken all reasonable steps as directed to ensure that our services aren't interfered with. And lastly, we're asking that they please reveal the names of any of their affiliates or associates who were arrested this morning for being involved in attacks on our buses.
So as Golden Arrow, it seems you have no doubt that Santaco is either directly or tangentially involved in this violence.
Absolutely. I think at this stage, given what's happened on the first day of the strike, 1 hour after the strike was called, our buses are being set alight. This is not happening at other times unless there's, different kinds of unrest, but we haven't had buses set on fire in a very long time. And every time there's a taxi strike, our buses are burning, our services are being interfered with. So I think at this stage, one can only infer that the taxi industry is involved.
In total, how many buses? Is it 10 now that have been torched?
That's correct, Sally. Since Thursday, we've lost 10 buses.
All right. I would imagine, given what Sipha Mandla was saying, that there is great concern that this is moving beyond a taxi strike, a taxi stay away, and could lead to sporadic lootings, which apparently have been already seen. Sipha Mandla's told us in a number of these townships. I'm sure these are areas Golden Arrow operates in. What sort of discussions are you having at the moment to make sure that your drivers are safe, your commuters are safe, and that your buses are safe tomorrow?
So, Sally, obviously we're in constant contact with law enforcement, with SAPS, with the authorities, with the Provincial Department of Mobility, who we are contracted to. But unfortunately, we've been doing really well trying to get Cape Town's commuters to work and home, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. This evening we are running limited services. Due to the volatility and everything that's happening, obviously some of our drivers are not coming into work. And some of those drivers who do want to come to work, we can't get to them to collect them, to bring them in. And so our services are now being severely restricted, not only by the fact that, there's concerns over safety, but also the fact that roads are being closed. We can't enter into areas. As you said, these surprise flare-ups of violence and vandalism make it very, very difficult for us to operate. This morning, we couldn't get out of Mitchell's Plain Terminus because all of the roads that our routes take were somehow blockaded or closed. So even when we try to operate, it's increasingly difficult. So unfortunately, at this stage, we are offering limited services. We have to put the safety of our passengers and employees first. And as much as we'd like to help every single commuter in Cape Town, and that has been our aim throughout this process, it is becoming increasingly difficult to do.
I understand one of your drivers was injured. Is that the full total of your casualties so far?
That's correct. I don't have an update on any injuries from today, but I haven't heard of any that occurred today. So the most serious was the driver who was shot in the leg. He did receive medical attention, and I believe he is recovering.
Given the situation that you're facing, that you received this interdict from the courts yesterday, it clearly didn't help in stopping attacks on buses. 4 more were torched this morning. You're back in court this evening. Is it on the table for discussion at Golden Arrows tonight whether you just halt all services tomorrow?
I think obviously it's a very fluid situation and we have to consider all options, but we have a responsibility to the commuters of Cape Town. There are many people who, if they don't go to work tomorrow, they are going to lose their job and their families are going to suffer. So what we will always try to do is provide some kind of service, whether that is a very limited service on very limited routes. That may be the case, whether we haven't been able to go into quite a lot of areas, whether we have to further eliminate areas and divert our services. We'll have to just see, but obviously, as you're saying, and as your reporter said, things are becoming volatile, very, very difficult. So we'll have to assess, look at things in the morning, and then take it from there. But we'd obviously have to warn our commuters that, we don't know what tomorrow's services are going to look like.
Yeah, and just as a final question, I know you have to leave us, but we're going to take some visuals. We've actually got visuals of the case that's currently underway with Golden Arrows. Ishmael Jamie is your advocate. You said that you went back to court today really to make sure, actually to ask Santaco to prove that they widely publicised the message from the first interdict, which was basically cease and desist, no one must take part in any acts of violence against Golden Arrows. What are you, besides getting the so-called proof, what else are you hoping to come out of this court process right now?
I think obviously we need to follow all of the legal processes, and we obviously, a court order is a very serious order, and so asking them to prove that they have taken the steps that they've been ordered to by the court, and obviously seeking certain relief if they haven't, is another step that we can follow. But mostly we're just hopeful that Santaco, is going to do what they said, what they agreed to do, which is to urge all of their associates not to interfere with our services. It didn't happen this morning. And then more broadly, we're just hopeful that, some calm can be restored and that we can return to services and that Santaco can return to services.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. It really is much appreciated. Bronwen Dyke-Beyer is spokesperson for Golden Arrow Bus Services, confirming 10 buses have been torched since Thursday last week. They're in court for a second time in as many days, and they are calling for Santaco to basically make sure all its members are aware that what they are doing, and they believe Santaco and its affiliates are behind these attacks, is absolutely illegal. But real concern this evening that outbreaks of violence are spreading to other areas, to shops, to malls, even private vehicles are being seized upon. So we will keep an eye on this. Got people on the ground. We'll keep you updated.